Your opponent's over here, you can hit it away from them all the way over there, down the line. If they're all the way back here, hit it way up close up there. Wait a minute. We're definitely not going to do it this way. Todd, we are live, and today was a little smoother transition. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. I don't know. We'll know shortly. You know, that was the first time we used a commercial. We're getting used to this, trying to work out this restream. And again, I appreciate you helping me out and taking the time today.
You know, it's almost like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, isn't it? Well, we got a couple people already in. Rod Jackson, Daniel Tremblay, Jolene Sullivan. What's up, buddy? Justine Simpson, Ruben Puebla. You know, Todd, you and I aren't tremendous at paying attention to the chat, but I'm noticing that people like that. So I think it's important to recognize.
What, they like the fact that we ignore the chats, or that we are paying attention to the chats?
I mean, I think both. I think we should pay attention. Gene Fry, you always have to say hello to the people that support the sport. Gene Fry, how are you, my friend? Gene's tremendous individual. He's always helping out Todd. And do you know Gene?
I don't think so. I don't know if we've ever met.
Well, you will meet him because you, my friend, are going to come to the 2023 edition of the Vero Beach Open. We confirmed the dates, January 19th to 21. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited. And I know Gene will be part of that and get everybody out there, but we'll talk all about that stuff later. It's this time of the day, by the way. This is kind of like a plug of one of my sponsors. It's my eBoost Super Fuel, all natural, alertness, energy, defense, vitamins, minerals. It's good stuff, Todd. You know, I got 2 kids. They're a little under the weather right now. Veronica and I haven't slept amazingly. So that time of the day.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's get right into it. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the SoCal Open and the IRT. Give us a little quick rundown of what happened yesterday, and then we'll get into today's matches.
Let's do it. So yesterday, you and I, master prognosticators, we predicted both the 16s and the quarters, and I gotta admit, I think we did a pretty good job, all things considered. Just running through, you know, if you're not looking at the bracket right now, I'll go top to bottom. But in the 16s, we saw De La Rosa really put a pounding on Sebastian Fernandez, 11-1. We saw Carson handle Mercado, 6-11, a match that I thought was closer than that it would be, based on. We don't have to go back over why we said what we said, but interrupt me at any point if you want to comment.
I don't interrupt.
Murray
I said I don't interrupt.
Murray handed it to Alonso, 8-5. I thought that would be closer because Alonso's been playing so well. Probably the biggest shock of the round was Adam Manilla coming from a game back to top number 4 Alejandro Landa. Lost the first game 8, won the second game 8, won the third game 8. That's a great result for Adam.
Great win again. You know, we said Adam works real hard, but you got to be disappointed if you're Adam that you win that big match and then you kind of go get schooled the next one.
Yeah. So moving on down, another match that you and I talked about, and Perea held serve against Andres Acuna, but it was close. It was 10-14.
Yeah, I mean, it was another good one. Andre obviously is playing really well. We see that, and we'll see what happens. But we both. Well, no, I picked that one. You picked.
Yeah, you picked that one. Yeah. So then, in a really kind of interesting match, Conrado Moscoso went way down early against longtime Mexican vet Alejandro Cardona before coming back to win the first game 15-14, and then wiped him out in the second game 15-4. We're gonna talk about Moscoso in a sec.
Yeah, Cardona's a great player. It'd be fun to see him fully committed on tour, playing all the time. Yeah, I watched some of that too. He's not afraid to win. He's not afraid to battle, and a lot of that at this level is you have to show these players, let's go, let's see what happens. I don't care if you beat me 0-0 or 11-10 in the third. You know, we're gonna ball, and it's important that your opponent feels that.
I like Cardona's game. He seems to me he's like a throwback to. It's a good, when I see him play, I think of Andy Roberts. A guy who
high praise.
who pops the ball, hits a heavy ball. It's a power serve. He's one speed. He doesn't dink around. He doesn't screw around trying to hit stuff. That's what I think about. Kind of as a comp or a throwback. But then real quick,
high praise. I've had a bunch of battles with Andy Roberts.
Absolutely. And then rounding out the 16s, Portillo and Jake, a match that we all thought was going to be close, indeed went to the breaker, and Lalo ended up taking out Jake 11-5 in the breaker. And then, unfortunately, our number 2 seed, who's a big fan favorite, Kane, reportedly missed his flight, and so we gave Eric Trujillo a walkover into the quarters, which then led to kind of an interesting situation for Trujillo, who is a really kind of a high riser, a quick riser on the sport right now.
Kid's got talent. I picked it. I said that I thought he was going to get into the semi and beat Portillo. But Portillo, and he was hanging. Trujillo was hanging with Portillo.
Yeah.
Portillo has a little bit more experience, believe it or not, even at the young age of whatever he is, I think 21, 22. Yeah. And he played solid. He played consistent. And he took Trujillo out. And, once again, if Trujillo wants to be looked at and considered, so to speak, he better start doing something now.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's funny in that we talk about Trujillo being the youngster, but yeah, Portillo hasn't even turned 21 yet. He turns 21 next week.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's the youngster, except he's the guy who's in the top 8, who's made Pro Tour finals, and Trujillo is the one that's trying to get breakthrough wins. So an 8-4 is a beatdown right there. Can
I say for the record though, that Trujillo's win over Kane doesn't really count. It's a forfeit.
Fair enough. So speaking
don't be walking around saying, "Oh, I'm 1-0 against Kane," because.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So that was the bottom quarter. Let's talk real quick about the other 3 quarters, because I think the other 3 quarters were really interesting as well.
Sure.
At the top, De La Rosa goes tiebreaker, but takes out Rocky Carson. Now, this is a reverse of the result in the last pro stop. And if I can go back to the last pro stop, De La Rosa losing to Carson at that venture was really kind of, I don't know if the right word is an indictment, but it was really kind of a, hey, why aren't you taking care of business kind of statement? But he took care of business yesterday.
Yeah, he did. I watched a bunch of that match. It was a typical DLR, wait, I can't say. I don't like that. I don't like the DLR thing. Daniel. It was a typical Daniel and kind of Rocky match. Rocky just solid throughout. He's got this now he's kind of evolved that drive Z from the left side of the box, where now he's throwing it to the right. He's throwing it behind him. He's kind of walking into it. So, Rocky's a veteran. He's figuring out different things, new things as he gets older, as his body changes, as his game changes. And he was right in it to the end. And when we said that yesterday, he's going to be in it. He's going to be tough. But Daniel did what he had to do, and he pulled it out.
So in the second quarter, from the top, Murray, after Mania's big win, I don't want to say falls flat, but he runs into a professional, and he loses 7-8 to Murray in a game that I don't think was that close.
Yeah, well said. Like you said, he ran into a professional. Sam is a little bit more seasoned on the Pro Tour as a pro player. And I think Adam, when you have a big win like that, because that's a big win for Adam, beating Landa in that event, and especially he's close to home, sometimes you go into you have those big emotional highs, and then you have to figure out how to manage that. And I always tell everybody, whoever I'm working with or playing, you don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. And Adam, he'll learn from that. I think that, he probably felt a big adrenaline rush, felt really good off of that win. And then, obviously he had the down against Sam, but not taking anything away from Sam. Sam's a tremendous player, and, he's one of the best in the world. He's won a pro stop, and he belongs in that semi for sure. No doubt about it.
All right, let's talk about the last quarter that we haven't mentioned, because I think it was perhaps the most interesting result from yesterday. Andre Perea, irrespective of seeds, Andre Perea as a number 3 seed, gets a win over number 6 seeded Conrado Moscoso, 12-13. Moscoso up 10-0 in the first. Andre grinds his way back, gets a win, a just shocking win in game 1, and then grinds out a win in game 2. What does this tell you, without being too critical, but what does this say to you about Moscoso's game?
You know, Veronica was watching it. I was kind of running around doing a couple things, and she just kept saying, "Yeah, Connie's playing amazing. He's serve, return, kill. He's killing him." You know, a lot of the things I heard her say, and then I started to watch it. You know, Paris playing really well. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He works hard. He's got a really different type of game style. It's good. He started hitting that drive Z, that kind of half lob, half hard Z to Connie's backhand, taking it out of his wheelhouse. So he's kind of got to stand upright. And Conrado's a big, tall guy. And he was very effective with that. But I'm going to say it, and it's not to take away not one single thing from Perea. I talked about it yesterday. That travel schedule that Conrado had to do 2 days ago, quite frankly, sucks. You know, you can't compete and be an elite athlete, you know, and maximize your abilities when you're traveling like that. At the very least, Todd, he should have came in 24 hours before if he could have. You know, I don't know his budget. I don't know his time. I don't know what was going on in life. But it doesn't. It surprises me because I believe, you know this, that I believe Conrado is the second best player in the world right now today, next to Kane. But when I saw that travel schedule and I was following it, you know, he's going from Bolivia into Miami, Miami into, you know, into Denver, Denver into LA. Man, you just can't do that and then expect to be at your best, especially in this, you know, in this sport.
Yeah, no, and he doesn't even have a direct out of Sucre. He's going Sucre to Santa Cruz to Miami to Denver to LAX, and then he's hitting on a court and he's trying to play top players.
It's listen, and again, Perea deserves that great win. He's playing great, but you know, Conrado, and I speak to him from time to time. I've actually worked with him on the court and trained with him. I trained him for a few weeks. That's the kind of stuff he has to decide. Like, what does he want to do? Does he really want to be the best he can be? Because if I'm keeping it real with him, I'm going to tell him you can't do that. It's not going to work. So whether you have to, you know, adjust your life schedule, or if you need a sponsor, hell, if he would have contacted me and said, I can't afford a hotel for the night, I would have helped him. I would have made you help him too. You have more money than me. And, you know, you just, to maximize your abilities and to be that athlete, to be a pro athlete, you got to get there a few days early, buddy. You know, learn from that. Don't do that. And again, congrats to Andre. Tremendous win, and I think he took advantage of that, and more power to him too.
Yeah, you know, this is why you see a lot of the Bolivians kind of string together like 3-week trips. You know, like I remember when Carlos Keller first played the Pro Tour full time. You know, he would come for 3 weeks at a time, and then he'd go back. You know, and he would try to make this happen. But it also makes you think, you know, on the ladies tour, there's an awful lot of South Americans that are dealing with that same level of travel. Like 2 of your top 10 are from Argentina, and they're flying up from Argentina for every one of these events. Barrios is flying up from Bolivia for every one of these events. You know, it is something for us fans and you know, to keep in mind that, hey, you know, a $300 trip for me to get to a U.S. city is 3 to 4 times that for these guys coming from South America, and it's a 24-hour trip, and their jet lag is all heck, and then they've got to try to compete.
It's, you know, Todd, when Ecuador hired me as their national coach in 2015, one of the first things I changed for them was their schedules. I remember the first trip we ever took, I was new, and I went along with the flow. I wasn't sure of the scheduling and everything. So long story short, it started out with an 11 p.m., 3-hour or 4-hour bus ride through the Andes Mountains to this Guayaquil airport. And when we got there, we arrived, all the athletes, of course, at like 4 a.m, dead tired, exhausted. And oh, by the way, we're just standing in line and we can't even check in for another hour. So I remember saying to Veronica and the team, I go, hey, everybody, you know, my job is to make you the best that you can be and to be as honest as I can with the federations and everybody. I said, I promise you, this will never happen again. I said, we will never. But to my surprise, this is what they've been doing for their entire life and their entire journeys. You know, they have a schedule. Their government pays for them. They tell them when you're going to travel, how you're going to travel. And I said, guys, this just isn't going to work. You're not going to be able to maximize your abilities this way. So we changed that travel schedule and, you know, whether we had to stay in a hotel one night before for the early flight, or we went in, you know, an extra day or two early. Yeah, these are things you have to do. And, you know, you learn from it. But Conrado's a veteran and he should, you know, he needs to know that. He can't no matter how good you are, you can't make that travel and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
jump on the court and
you know what it reminds me of at the Bolivian Open, where North American players had to do the reverse for like the first time.
Sure.
I remember specifically, I'm not calling out this player, but I remember reading this story that Rodrigo Montoya, he got stuck with a class, or he got stuck with something, and he arrived, essentially, he took like a red eye to get there, and he arrived like 2 hours before his match. And then he got beat. He got beat by a guy that he absolutely should have beaten in the opening round. And you're right, that was him trying to fit in a schedule, but putting himself in a position where, hey, why even fly down there if you're going to put yourself in a position to lose in the first round of a pro event? But,
yeah, and you well said, Todd. You as an elite athlete, you need to know you're putting yourself into that position. I get it. Things happen. Life happens. I understand. I'm planning on getting to the national doubles, leaving my family 2 days early just so I can acclimate. And I'm just, I'm only going to Texas, but I want to try to take out and minimize any room for error or mistakes that are out of my control. Yeah. So, I'll purposely get there a couple days early, and it doesn't make me right. But yeah, these guys need to figure that out and definitely learn from that. And I get it. We're going to get the pushback, right? Oh, yeah. Money. Oh, travel. Yeah. Oh, this. Well, all right then. Yeah.
All right. So we've been chatting for 15 minutes. We've done our review.
Got to say hello to Robert Lyons, my boy. What's up, Robert? Robert Lyons does a huge amount down here in Florida. We need more Robert Lyons across the country. Todd, he's a guy that loves the sport. I sat next to him last weekend. He's working his ass off, and he's good for the sport, no doubt.
100%. Florida racquetball, one of the big names down there that makes Florida, if not the best state, then the best state for the sport. All right.
Can you hear my son crying outside my office?
A little bit. It's okay.
Okay, good. That's Mateo, everybody. He's under the weather.
It humanizes you, Sudsy.
All right. Very human.
All right. We got 2 semis, and then we're going to project a final. So we're going to talk about 3 matches in the next 13 minutes before these guys get started.
Let's do it.
Top semi. Number 1, Daniel De La Rosa versus number 5, Samuel Murray. They have played 5 times, Sudsy. What's the head-to-head?
4-1 Daniel.
That's exactly correct. Even though these guys are both have been in the top 10 for a long time, they rarely play. They've only played 5 times in all of their careers. Murray's sole win was an 11-9 breaker en route to his sole title in January 2021, which is probably, frankly, the best he's ever played in his career. And was that a one-off win? Hard to say. Otherwise, Daniel De La Rosa consistently beats Murray in 2 games. They're never blowouts, but the scores are usually like 15-13, 15-8. Or 15-12, 15-10, those kind of matches. For me, I think that's what we're going to see here today.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I think we're going to see the same thing today. I think you're going to see Daniel. I think Daniel sees the other side of the draw. He sees who's not there, and now he's calm, and he's going to play his game, and he's going to cruise into the final.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth with that one. I think that number 1, first and foremost, Daniel, knowing that Kane isn't on that other side, he's going to be a little more relaxed, a little more bounce in his step. He's going to have a little bit more excitement, motivation to go get that first place check to bring home to his beautiful family. And I think he'll come out on top today. Sam, great player. Again, he won the Pro Stop in January 2021 in Atlanta. And I would love to see something from that, but we haven't. We're still waiting. And I think Daniel probably is, now that Conrado's out, is the best player, to remain in the draw.
I agree. All right, so we're in tune there. We think Daniel wins this in 2.
Yeah, I like Daniel there.
In 2 games, probably same kind of thing, 15-10. Sam's going to score points. Mm-hmm. But Daniel will slow the game down, and we'll move into the final. Let's talk about the bottom, because this is an interesting matchup for me. Number 3, Parilla versus number 7, Portillo. They've played 6 times. What's the head-to-head?
I have to say 6-0 Andre.
Ooh, 4-2 Andre.
Okay.
Andre may lead this 4-2, but Lalo's won 2 of their last 3. Last time they met, Lalo beat him 11-6. That was in November 2021.
That's interesting, because I would say that, especially they grew up together. They grew up in Mexico, obviously. And Andre's a little bit older, and when you grow up around players, you have that stigma, right? Like that's the guy. Like so,
Yeah.
Lalo at some point was in the shadow of Perea, and I would have thought the reason I said 6-0 is because I didn't know how recent they've played against each other. But I would think that, yeah, it does not surprise me that he's taken some now. I don't know what Lalo's fitness is like right now. I don't know if he's feeling it. He looked a little wobbly at times yesterday, which you're 20 years old, Lalo. You're not allowed to be wobbly yet. But I think that at the end of the day, Lalo, let's see what you got, man. Let's see what you got, kid. Can you take advantage of the fact you didn't have to deal with Kane? And now you have an opportunity to call it what it is. You have an opportunity to win an IRT event. And when that happens, you better take advantage because you don't know if Kane's going to be at the next one or if you're playing Conrado in the 16s or Daniel in the quarters.
Yeah.
So, it's served up on the plate for you, Lalo. What do you got? Show up, go play some ball. And we'll see what happens. But with that, my pick is going to be, I think Perea is going to figure it out. And, he's playing good. I think he's super confident. And we'll see what happens. I'm picking Perea.
I'm gonna pick Perea as well. Lalo's the only one of these semifinalists that has not won an event. That's something, but so that goes to your point. Lalo held serve against Jake. A lot of people in the chat probably thought Jake was going to win that, and there's no way that Lalo's even going to be in the spot. And then he blew out Trujillo. He did, like we said, he put his foot on Trujillo's neck and did not give him a chance to get the crazy run. So that leads to me. There's no doubt that he's back and healthy, and that he's not going to capitulate against an opponent that could give him some issues. All that being said, Perea just put down Moscoso, and coming down from 10-1, that was a really impressive win. For me, I think the slight combination of Lalo maybe not quite trusting his knee and Perea just getting a fantastic win and then getting a night's sleep, I think Perea wins this. And then, no, it's true. If Perea had just come off of that tough win and then goes right into a Lalo match, I think it's different.
Sure. Well, let me tell you, you touched on something, and this is a little back info for you. I don't want to welcome another person to the club because every time I see somebody win a pro stop, I send out a text and say, welcome to the club. And, we like that club to be nice and small. It's like the U.S. Open Champion Club. It's a small group. And, this year, last couple of years, we've been welcoming a bunch of people to the club. And, it's like one and done. They're in, they're out. So I wouldn't mind actually, I won't congratulate Daniel via text if he wins another one, or Sam. Or Andre probably, but I would send a text if Lalo wins and say, congrats, welcome to the club.
So the club we're talking about, by the way, Tier 1 tournament winners. There are 42 members, 9 of which have only won one event. And that 9 includes Sam Murray. Of current players include Sebastian Franco, Sam Murray, Mario Mercado. So you're right. We want to see these guys win, do more than one.
I wonder. So that's awesome. Real quick on the stat. So 42 tier 1s, 42 tier 1 winners, 9 of them one-time winners, 33 of them. How many of them are only 2-time winners? Say
another 7.
Interesting. Where's the huge gap where it's like 10 or more, only this many, for instance?
There's really the real big gap is from the top 4 guys. So Kane, Cliff, Marty, Sudsy, and then there's a gap, and then there's a little grouping that includes Jack, Rocky, Menino in the mid-20s. Then there's a slew of guys in the teens: Yellen, Roberts, Harnett, Brumfeld, and Peck. Then there's a little bit of a gap to Ellis has 8, De La Rosa has 7, Ray, Catchstick, Hellacier, Rubin, and then you start getting into the guys who just had 3 to 4.
That's so cool for all of you. Obviously, you're racquetball, players and fans. Here we are, and we are racquetball. And go to proracquetballstats.com. Todd, is that right?
That's right.
You want to type that into the chat, Todd, so everybody can see it. Todd does an amazing job. It's the reason why I think he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. He's the only guy that's ever done it, ever been close to it, and obviously a historic part of our sport. So go check it out. It's pretty amazing, the detailed breakdown. So Todd, we got about 5 minutes left.
All right.
Before, because we don't want to run over into the IRT's
That's right.
show. They're going live in about 5 or 10 minutes with their first match.
All right.
So it looks like we both have Daniel and Perea in the final. Is that correct?
That's right. So assuming it's Daniel Perea, they've met 10 times. What's the head-to-head?
Daniel Perea. How many of those are international though? Because you know how I feel about that. The Pro Tour and everything else is totally different.
They haven't met internationally, but they sometimes meet in Mexican nationals.
Which is like a Pro Tour, by the way. So
true.
I'll say Perea Daniel. I got to go 8-2 Daniel.
That's exactly correct.
I'm pretty good at this.
You are very good. So the last time these two met was at Mexican Nationals, and it's with its rally scoring, and it was a close 4-game win for Daniel. Prior to that, the last time they met in the pros was one of Andre's only 2 wins over him in January in Lilburn, in a testy match, if you recall. Daniel was arguing most of the tiebreaker and kind of mentally got out of the match because, of course, Kane was in the final. To get to this point, Daniel's beaten Fernandez, Carson Murray. Perea would have beaten Acuna, Moscoso, Portillo. Who's had the harder road?
I would say Perea.
I think so too. I think Daniel's had an easier time of it. Will that matter?
It could, because Daniel's seasoned. They're going to play 2 matches today if it happens. Whoever's in the final. I think Perea's fitness might be, a little bit ahead of Daniel's, but don't let Daniel's fitness fool you. Daniel's in fit. Everybody's fit and in shape. Everybody's built different. You can't be out there. It's like I always say, Todd, I give you 0 extra credit if you're a professional or elite athlete and you say, oh, look how hard I'm working out. I'm in great shape. You're supposed to be. You're an elite athlete. You're a pro athlete. What do I say? I'm a doctor. Hey, I brought my scalpel to surgery. No, you're supposed to be in shape. What are you doing different? And I think that's the thing. I think Andre's finding a lot of different things to do to be out there to compete. I think Daniel's obviously a winner. And again, we don't know if that's the final. There's 2 guys in both of their way, so we'll see. But, if it does get to that, I'm actually going to say that, do I have to predict the final that isn't even there yet? Or do we jump on before the final and do this again?
No, we got to predict.
All right, you go first, and then I'll give you my pick.
I think Daniel's relieved that there's no Kane and cruises to a 2-game win.
Wow, cruises to a 2-game win. All right, yeah, well then I'm going to, just to be different, I'm going to go with Perea in a 3-game win, but I do agree with you that both are relieved to not have to deal with Kane, who we had a question here from Tom McCloskey. Is that right? McCloskey. Yeah, Kane missed his flight, some travel issues, and wasn't able to make it. I spoke to him. He's all good. He's safe, and nothing happened. So Robert Lyons, his prediction is DLR.
Yeah. Well, this was great, Sudsy. We have finished with 2 minutes to spare.
I'm pretty proud of us. That was exciting. We're going to end the show. We thank everybody. That was kind of like the first edition of We Are Racquetball. I might be branding a new thing, We Are Racquetball. Sometimes, Todd, I'll be asking you to join me. Other times I'll be alone. Maybe I'll invite other guests. I see Jim Durham, the coach of the U.S. team, on there. Got to have Jim Durham out here one time. That'll be fun to talk about. And maybe we just go all over the place. But before we go, Todd, why don't you talk a little bit about this right here for our good friend Mike Coulter?
Yeah, just so fun fact, because we had a Saturday night finish in this event, all the pros have been invited to play in an outdoor shootout tomorrow. It's at Marina Park, which is right around the corner from Canoga Park. Well, I mean, relatively speaking. They've put up a ton of prize money, $1,500 in prizes, and I went and checked out R2, and they've already got a slew of the regular IRT outdoor, or the regular outdoor pros that are Southern California based, Arizona guys from Las Vegas are flying in. And so the hope is to try to bring and, kind of introduce outdoor to some of the IRT pros. They're in town. They don't have anything else to do on Sunday except fly home. So come on over and try to play on some 3-wall. And I hope that they get a good turnout for tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Hey, Zeus, Mike, you guys do a great job. 1,500 in prizes. Wish I could fly out there and catch a flight. But for now, Todd, we're going to get out of here. We're going to hopefully everybody goes over and watches the IRT match. Have an amazing Saturday. Let's enjoy. Todd, thank you again. Thank you to everybody watching. And we definitely will see you soon. I'll come up with more of a schedule. Get outside. Go play racquetball, outdoor, indoor. I don't care. Play racquetball. Have an amazing day. We'll see you soon. Thanks again, everyone.